Maybe this movie is hinting at something that we all wonder about deep down, about whether our past dictates who we are or who we want to be. See, this is more than a theoretical question for Grace, because she got involved in all this because she pickpocketed the key. It means that now she's on the grid. Everyone is chasing her. You know, she's been in the crosshairs of the entity. She's in the crosshairs of the White Widow, the CIA, and she's forced with a choice. She can go back to her old way of life, which is basically a life of running from her past, running from the choices that she's made, or she can choose to be part of something bigger than herself. She can be part of something that sees her value beyond the past that she comes from. And I think that's why this story is so powerful, because that's our choice. Every one of us. Every one of us has made choices that we regret. Every one of us has a past that we want to run from. Every one of us struggles with trying to separate who we are from who we were. And that's what makes us feel unworthy. I mean, you heard it yourself. She was feeling kind of like, well, I don't deserve any of this. The team's essentially saying, we see your value. And she's like, you don't even know me. She doesn't feel that she deserves it. And that's something we can all relate to. I mean, come on, you remember the scene, you just saw it. The whole team just Googled her entire criminal past. They're not oblivious to the kind of person that she has been. And even though they know where she has been, they're willing to accept her if she is willing to leave that behind and start a new life now. So I know, this is just a spy movie, but this is pretty deep. I gotta admit, Ethan Hunt, when he's like, your life is more important than my own. I kind of did an eye roll at that, I mean, you guys don't even know each other. It's been like a week maybe. How can you even say that? The whole Tom Cruise Messiah thing was a little much for me. But I did feel her emotion. When Grace got teary at the idea and she was like, you don't even know me. You don't know my past. You don't know what I've done, where I've been. And then Ethan responds, well, why does that matter? Now that's a gift. That's completely unearned. This story anchors itself in a very heavy truth. It having value regardless of what we've done in the past. Do you feel that? Imagine joining a team where who you were doesn't have to determine who you are. Man, I told you, it's deep. And it connects with us on a deep level because it's not spy movie truth. It's God's truth. One of the earliest followers of Jesus connected with this truth. Paul the Apostle tells us all about this in 2 Corinthians chapter 5. It starts in verse 16. It says this, so we have stopped evaluating others from a human point of view. At one time, we thought of Christ from merely a human point of view. How differently we know him now. This means, now listen to this, this means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone, and a new life has begun. Now that's a beautiful thought. The old life is gone, the new life has started. It's your choice to accept this truth. You don't have to do penance. You don't have to perform a series of good deeds that outweigh the bad. You don't have to prove your worth. That's grace. God offers us a new life when we choose to follow him. And so we don't have to run anymore. And I know it sounds too good to be true. And here's the thing. The poor choices we made in the past don't just magically go away. It's not like they disappear. And see, that's where God comes in. God tells us over and over in the Bible that he will no longer remember our sin when we choose to follow him. He's given us the gift of not remembering our past when he looks at our present. Jeremiah 31, verse 34 is a powerful statement. It says that God will forgive us and I will never again remember their sins. Now think about that. That's like God, infinite God, chooses to forget. Paul goes on to say in verse 18, now you got to read this, right? And all of this is a gift from God who brought us back to himself through Christ. And God has given us this task of reconciling people to him. Verse 19, so crucial. For God was in Christ reconciling the world to himself, no longer counting people's sins against them. God is ready to forget your past, even when you aren't. That's deep. I mean, look at that phrase. For God was in Christ, reconciling the world to himself, no longer counting people's sins against them. Who you were doesn't have to determine who you are. The truth of this movie hits because God was the first to say it. See, the pivot point of this whole movie is Grace's choice to leave the past behind and be a part of something bigger. And she wrestles with this, and so do we. I mean, how could I possibly be acceptable to God or this place or these people with the past I've had? I mean, if they only knew who I was. I mean, you might be here today thinking, I don't deserve anything from God, which is ironic. I mean, think about it. I don't know if you caught this, but the name of this woman is Grace. Because the choice in front of her is what grace is all about. I mean, you're right, we don't deserve this. But that's what grace is. Grace means getting something when we don't deserve it. And that's what Christ offers us, grace, forgiveness of our past. Your past is not as important as your present and the choice to make in the present. Who you were does not have to be who you are. And the choice is right in front of you.